what, 15% of the people that live in Salinas can afford a median priced home?
Absolutely.
That doesn't help.
No, and
And the city does nothing to ensure that there is low-cost housing involved in any kind of development.
no, you know about the new development they want to put out.
4,000 homes at median priced.
Median price.
So where are the people who are going to move into these homes if only 15% of the people in Salinas could afford it? How many of them actually want to move? And like I say, where are these people going to come from?
How many people in the community have been kind of forced out because they can't afford the rent, do you think? Or is it all of the people here? Or most
Well, I wasn't forced out because I couldn't afford a rent. I was forced out because I couldn't get a job. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of homeless families. That's where it is. I mean, you can't get a place to house your kids, and you can't possibly think that that's not a priority for people. Nobody wants to have their kids doing their homework in the park.
Yeah.
You hurry up and get it done before it gets dark.
You talk about what how the city's treated the community?
Well, the biggest impediment for me to getting off the street is the city of Salinas. I can't leave this card alone because they'll snatch it up. And since I've said things about it, they'll snatch it up really quick.
The city will come and snatch your stuff.
Yeah, if you can't have a shopping cart full of stuff. You can't have a wagon full of stuff and have it on. The other day we were making breakfast and they came and they had a suite. Well, while we were arguing with them about what they could and couldn't take, they took the food, they took the pots and pans, and they took the firewood. And threw it away. Right here. Right?
When was that?
That was last week.
Last week. The cops came?
The cops didn't pick it up. The cops were standing there with their hands on their pistol, while the guys the contractors, the city employees that do that, picked it all up and hustled it away. While we were talking to the cops and telling them, you can't. It's not on the list of stuff you can take, pots and pans.
So you're making breakfast and they took your food.
Exactly.
The cops took your food. And so that's the police chief and the mayor?
That's just a policy from the mayor on down. The problem is their policies are real clear to the cops, but they're not clear to anybody else. You have a right to shelter according to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, but what right is that? You can't stay on the sidewalks, you can't stay in the parks, you can't stay here, you can't. They have a whole long list that apparently only the police are privy to, of where you can't stay. They have no list about where you can stay because the mayor and on down, they're afraid to say, we're going to put these homeless people in your neighborhood. So they just don't say anything.
Yeah, I think this is an important point, Aaron. I didn't get to this in my interview, but that the mayor and the cops are harassing the community here. Just last week, they raided them while they were making breakfast. And, I just want to call on the mayor and the police chief to have a different policy with respect to the unhoused community. I just think it's totally wrong. And I'm willing to go on the record on saying that.
So maybe they could go on the record and say where we could stay.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that help things a lot?
They're just being pushed around. This is a peaceful place and with no place to go. And one of the reasons I'm running for Congress is because the money we need to help solve the problem needs to come from the federal government. That's a big part of it. It's not just a local responsibility, it's also a state and federal responsibility. But we've got to remember, this is the richest state in the richest country. This is totally unacceptable. Yeah, everybody has dignity, everybody has the right to shelter. And what's happening here in Salinas is a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. And I would call on the mayor and the police chief to start treating people with respect and help finding solutions. And if the city itself doesn't have all the money, then the city should be pushing on state and federal. This has got to be the number one priority. And just policing at the local level or the federal level of the ICE is not solving the problem. And I think when they vote to approve new developments, market rate developments, we got to understand it's not really benefiting. How is that benefiting our unhoused community?
The current residents even.
Or does it even make the problem worse? So I've been out here a couple times, and we've seen met folks like Bill. I've met elderly women who are vulnerable to crime and just the problems of being out in the street.